Hello everyone, this is Aditya Kumar. I have given UPSC between 2020 till 2025. So I'm here to share my learnings with you and make your mains preparation more structured and template driven. So I'm going to start with the lecture of federalism. So this is the syllabus and then this is the 2025 question paper. Let me also open the 2024 question paper for you. So fine. So first of all, the center-state relations is very, very important, not just in mains, but also in prelims, right? But first of all, I want to discuss the mains part with you because it helps to develop a structured thinking. So in the syllabus, if we go GS2, governance, constitution, polity, social justice, and international relations. So where do we find the federalism part or the center-state relations part? So here we can see functions and responsibilities of the union and the states. So let me highlight this thing for you. Functions and responsibilities of the union and the states. Issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, right? Issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. So this part is, center-state relations in the syllabus. Fine. So this is the 2025 question paper, and we can check. So they have asked the federalism question in question number 14. So examine the evolving pattern of center-state financial relations in the context of planned development in India. How far have the recent reforms impacted the fiscal federalism in India? So the focus in this question is on the fiscal aspects of federalism in India. Is this fine? So this is the question that they have asked in 2025. Similarly, if we go and check the 2024 question paper, so we check need for electoral reforms, Lok Adalats, to cabinet system, CAG, role of local bodies, public charitable trusts. Okay. Mostly they ask federalism question, the 15 markers only. So fine, right to privacy. Okay, right. So this is the question number 13. What changes has the union government recently introduced in the domain of the center-state relations? Suggest measures to be adopted to build the trust between the center and the states for strengthening federalism. Fine. So each and every time they do ask one question about federalism or center-state relations, the steps being taken, the challenges of the federalism, and what are the trends in the Indian federalism. Fine. Let me also show you the other previous year questions beyond 2025 and 2024. So this is 2023 question paper, which is what they've asked in federalism. So I have sorted them, as per the respective subjects. So this is Judicial Independence, NASA Act, right? So this is urban local body, parliamentary sovereignty, presiding officers. Yes. So this one question discuss the role of presiding officers of the state legislature in maintaining order and impartiality in conducting legislative work and in facilitating the best democratic practices. So these questions, this question can be even discussed in the parliament chapter, but it is also important from the federalism point of view, the state legislatures, right? Next, gender justice. Okay. Yes. So this is the question. Account for the legal and political factors responsible for the reduced frequency of using Article 356 by the Union government since mid 1990s. So this question is discussing about president's rule, and president's rule has always been a point of conflict between the center and the states. So it becomes important from that point of view. Fine. Civil society groups, no. Significance of the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. To what extent does it reflect the accommodative spirit of the federalism? So again, we saw in 2025 there was one question 50 marker, 2024 one question 50 markers. Now in 2023, so there's a one question 10 marker and one question 15 marker. So the step is the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, the GST, and to what extent does it reflect the accommodative spirit of federalism? Fine. So this was the question till 2023. Now I'll quickly glance through the questions that they've asked between 2013 till 2022 with respect to federalism. So we go to polity, right? And I've sorted them as per the respective themes. So elections and RPA, yes. Yes, this is federalism. So see, they have asked many, many questions about federalism, right? So it will be with respect to devolution of powers, yes, and then devolution of finances, central versus NCT of Delhi. They are frequent conflicts, right? So that is also they frequently ask those questions in the mains as well. Cooperative federalism, centralizing tendencies, Government of India Act 1935. So did this act lay down a federal constitution? Discuss. This question was asked in GS2, not in GS1. Interstate water disputes, GST. So this is their frequent, question and their favorite theme. Similarly, in asymmetric federalism, they had asked about Article 371A, the MOPNG directive as a threat to Nagas. So this was mostly a current affairs question, right? Article 370, they had asked in 2016, but now it is redundant. The next question that they can ask about Article 370, right, is the effect of the abolition of Article 370 on India. Perhaps they have asked that question in 2025 as well. So once again, in 10 markers, they have asked This 370, Article 370 question. Yes. Discuss the nature of Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly after the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. Briefly describe the powers and functions of the Assembly of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So yes, so they have asked this question, right? The center and state relations, the center and UT relations. So how does it change, right? You can go through these questions that I've sorted, right? I'll share this, stuff with you on my Telegram channel. So let's discuss the class now, right? Let's go ahead with the class. So what questions we are going to discuss in this class? So first of all, that means we should first know what are the provisions, right, in the Indian Constitution regarding federalism. So I'm going to give you a brief overview, right? Brief overview of Indian federalism, and then I'm going to discuss some questions. But सबसे पहले मैं आपको बता देता हूँ कि which questions I'm going to discuss. So, right, what are the federal provisions? I suggest you to make your notes along with me because this will help you to revise the stuff much better. So, what are the federal provisions in our constitution, right? In our constitution, what are the federal provisions, and how does it compare? How does it compare with other federal systems like the US? Fine. So next, so this is one question that we are going to discuss. And then, so what are the challenges facing Indian federalism? What are the challenges facing Indian federalism? How we can address those challenges, right? How can those challenges be addressed? Fine. So next, we can discuss the question of what is the importance of discuss the importance of Indian, okay, federalism. Discuss the importance of Indian federalism, right? And comment on its nature. And comment on its nature. Fine. So what are the federal provisions in our constitution? How does it compare with other federal systems like the US? What are the challenges facing Indian federalism? How can those challenges be addressed? And discuss the importance of Indian federalism and comment on its nature. So first let's discuss these questions and then we'll cover other aspects. Fine. So if we start with question 1, what are the federal features in our constitution? And how does it compare with other federal systems? Once again. So if we start with this question, right? That means if we begin with this question. So one second. Let me see if we can have a full screen option. Yes. So what are the federal features in our constitution, right? So how does it compare with other federal systems like the US? That means, first of all, we have to discuss the question parts and subparts. The question parts and subparts. How do we need to address this question? So first of all, we should have an introduction, right? What are the federal provisions in our constitution? How does it compare with other federal systems like the US? So this means we should have an introduction, right? In the body, we should divide it as per the question demand. Fine. As per the question demand. One second. So in this case, we should mention the federal features in our constitution. And then next part will be comparison with other federal systems like US. To make it more, objective, let's first discuss comparison compared with US only. How does it compare with the US? Fine. So comparison with federal systems, US federal system. Comparison with the US federal system. Fine. This is the main demand of the question, right? This is the main demand of the question. But to get the extra marks, we should write something, something more valuable also before our conclusion. So we should write these are the federal provisions, right? And this is the comparison. And how does this comparison help India in its context, right? How does this comparison or how does this difference help India in its context? Fine. So next we should have a conclusion. So conclusion. So this is the brief overview. What are the federal provisions in our constitution and how does it compare with the US? So we are going to divide it into IBC format and then we are going to put in the answers templates wise. Fine. So federal provisions can be listed as these are the federal features. In introduction, we can write like we can always start with a constitutional aspect. So Article 1 states that India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. we can write our introduction. Try to write it. Try to link with constitution. In polity answers, try to link the introduction with, constitution. Try to link with constitution. So introduction can be Article 1 states that India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. Is a union of states. Fine. So it is a bedrock of our democratic edifice and a basic structure of our constitution, as per S.R. Bhumi. It is a bedrock. It is a bedrock of our democratic edifice and a basic structure of the constitution. And you can mention S.R. Bhumi case. S.R. Bhumi case. Fine. Our focus was on two things. First of all, we have to link the answers with the constitution, and then we have to break the question as per the question demand and try to bring in some value addition, right? Not much. This can be 30 words, 20 to 30 words. That makes your answer stand out. Fine. So we have mentioned the introduction. Article 1 states that India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. It is a bedrock of a democratic edifice and a basic structure of the constitution, as per S.R. Bhumi case. Fine. Now we should mention our federal features. What are the federal features in the constitution? So we have all studied Lakshmikant, and the federal features we can find as, okay. So what can be the federal features in the constitution? So first of all, there's a dual, okay, polity, right? Center and states. Fine. There's a written constitution. There's a written constitution. We have a rigid constitution. Can't be changed easily. We have read that thing in the amendment chapter. Supremacy of the constitution. Fine. We have a independent judiciary, independent judiciary, independent judiciary, and we have a bicameral legislature. Fine, because Rajya Sabha represents the states. We have read this thing by the Rajya Sabha, like, represents the states. So we have a bicameral legislature, and we have a division of powers as per 7th schedule, right? So division of powers in the 7th schedule, Article 246. Fine. So these are the federal features in the constitution. Now, let us begin with the main game now. These federal features you may forget because you may remember 3 to 4, but it will be difficult to remember all the 7. And that's when the template strategy comes into picture. So we see that plain listing of points is tough. It is difficult to remember. Fine. Now, what if we can divide the federal features into 2 or 3, themes, which are easy to remember? So we can divide into legislative features, into administrative features, administrative or executive features, and into financial features. Fine. If there are some other features, there may be others, right? As in some judicial feature, some other constitutional feature, So now if we see this dual polity, where we can write this dual polity stuff, the dual polity stuff can be written as a part of administrative feature. Similarly, written constitution, it is a constitutional feature, right? And then rigid constitution, it is also a constitutional feature. Supremacy of the constitution is also a constitutional feature. We have an independent judiciary. This is a judicial feature. And then we have a bicameral legislature. So this is a legislative feature. And we have division of powers in the 7th schedule. So this is a legislative feature. So what are the legislative features? Legislative features are, once again, we have a bicameral legislature. Right. So we have a bicameral legislature. Fine. And financial feature, yes, and there's a division of powers. There is division of powers. Fine. Financial feature, once again, administrative and executive feature, there is dual polity. Similarly, judicial feature, we have an independent judiciary. Independent judiciary. And constitutional feature, we have so rigid constitution, written constitution. Fine. So I'm just enabling you how to think when presented with a question. The federal features in the constitution can be written in the plain order as well, but I don't want you to write it in the plain order because that will be very, very difficult to remember. So I'm allowing your brain to think in terms of dimensions and to think in terms of templates. So whatever federal features we have, right? So this can be clubbed as some legislative feature, some administrative executive feature, some financial features, and others. Now, when you check the legislative features, they are bicameral legislature and division of powers. Administrative feature, dual polity, right? Financial features. So in the division of powers as well as taxes. So that's a part of the financial feature. We'll study this thing in the center-state financial relations, right? And that is a very, very hot topic. Others, so we have a judicial feature, independent judiciary, and then we have a constitutional feature, which is rigid constitution and plain constitution. So these are the federal features in the constitution. Now you tell me, comparison with US, right? So comparison with US. How will you compare with US? Comparison with US. How will you compare with US? So the best thing is that when we have to compare, use above, okay, dimensions. Use above dimensions. That is very, very important. We need to use above dimensions, right? So those are 7 features, right? And 3 to 4 major dimensions. Differences between Indian and US federalism has been asked. So how do you write? Most important, you can write one thing that the US, that means you can write the main theme of federalism. So basis of the federalism. In US, what is the basis? In India, what is the basis? So best thing is to draw a table, right? Best thing is to draw a table. So this will be US, this will be India, and then you can write this is the parameter of comparison. So first parameter will be basis. Next will be, right, some legislative aspect, some administrative aspect, some financial aspect, and others, some judicial aspect, some constitutional aspect, and you are able to generate points, right? So you have to make your own notes till you watch the next lecture. So just using your Lakshmikant knowledge, try to fill these points, and then we'll discuss this thing in the next class. Fine. So a quick summary: we discussed the PYQs of federalism, right? We discussed the syllabus. So what do they expect from us in the federalism part? Then some questions we will be able to discuss in federalism. So I chose one question: what are the federal provisions in a constitution? How does it compare with the US? In any question, we have to break it into I, B, C parts, and we have to write something, that adds value for. That means something that the question may not have, asked plainly, but it is a hidden part. And when we write this thing, it makes the overall answer, more holistic. So introduction, federal features I discussed in a plain manner, and I enable you to think, in terms of dimensions. And then when we are comparing with a different country like US, we can compare on the basis of those dimensions. Then I asked you to make your own notes using Lakshmikant on the basis of those dimensions that we will discuss in the next class. Fine. Thank you.